Good evening, my lovelies. We are back with another Shit's True. And this week, we're going down slasher film with The Strangers. And that it was based on a true story.
I feel like probably more like many true stories mashed together.
Kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked anything up, so it's all brand new information. I'm
I will
excited.
give it to them though, because they don't go based, they go inspired, which I feel like gives a
Right.
lot more leeway.
Yeah, like anything can be inspired by anything else. Like
Yeah.
it's like fan fiction. Like
Right. So when this movie first came out, The Strangers, I did not want to see it. I did never watched it because I don't like movies that are scary movies where people are just doing crazy people shit. Because there's no rationalizing that. It's just scary and it could happen. You know?
see,
Like
that's to me it's not even scary. Like when I me and B watch almost every horror movie we can get our hands on it, every thriller. It's like his favorite thrillers are his favorite genre almost. Um, and I just every time I watch a thriller, especially an older thriller like this one, I'm not scared of it. I'm just very frustrated because they're always so fucking stupid. And it drives me just up the wall. So like I spend the whole movie not being scared, but being frustrated.
I will say though, with this movie, I did find this is one of the times where I didn't find myself so often being frustrated because even in moments where I was like, oh, you should be doing this, it was like, oh, well, they slashed all the tires. Okay, well, they're just,
Right. They did
they
like
could run out in the dark, but is that really safer? There's clearly multiple people. So I'm like, I probably wouldn't run out either, just
I
randomly,
don't know.
you
I
know?
Yeah, there were some moments where I was like, all right, like at least they attempted to do something. They weren't just like running
Yeah.
around like crazy people. Like they attempted to. It's just their attempts were so like baseline and just I don't know. Maybe I have too much confidence in myself, but I
Maybe.
I feel like I would have done a better job than those two idiots did in this movie.
It might be sad to say I don't think I could have done a better job. I may have been dead sooner, honestly. So Strangers was made in 2008 and it starred the amazing Liv Tyler.
I forgot she was in this, and then I saw her, and I was like, "Oh,
This woman can do no wrong.
hey!"
I love her so much.
I had to
She
look up what she's been up to lately, and it's just a lot of charity work and being with her
yeah.
kids. And I was like, "Good for you."
Yeah. I feel like she's pretty much got out of acting and she's just off living her best life.
Chilling. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love her. And you kind of open up the movie with her and her man. She's like crying. And there's not a lot of words happening. It's more montage feeling, and you're kind of getting the feeling of okay, a breakup's happening, but something romantic was supposed to be happening, and it slowly unravels that apparently he asked her to marry him, and she said no, and now
See,
they're in
I
this
didn't even
awkward
pay
moment.
attention. I didn't even pay attention to that part. I was just like, I don't care.
No, honestly, I
It
will
didn't
say
matter.
this movie is boring,
Yeah,
so
it
boring. It
was
was really
no.
hard, and I love her so much. She's fascinating. And okay, they put her in this terribly ugly like bridesmaid's dress. They were at like a wedding event.
It literally looked like it belonged in 13 going on 30.
So bad.
Like
And then she even makes a comment. He's like, why'd you put the dress back on? Because she went and took a bath and came back out. And she's like, it makes me feel pretty. I was like, that one shouldn't. That one's not a great dress.
well,
Like,
not only that, but then when I get home, I'm not. No, we're like taking clothes
oh
off
yeah,
when I get home. I'm not just gonna sit around in a chiffon dress
I
with all the ruffles across my boobs. Like those straps had to be itchy. I maybe it's the tism. I can't do it. I
no
can't. When I
that
get home, it's this off.
there have been a couple dresses I've probably worn a little longer in the house, but once I'm in the tub, I'm just staying naked. There's nothing's going back on. That's just a weird flex. Okay, and then so it goes from there. They're still having the chats about it. All of a sudden, they're dancing in the kitchen, and then it's just sex. It was like one spin and put it in. And I
Yeah,
was just
it
like,
was so weird.
didn't you just break up?
It was
What is
such a
happening? What range of emotions is happening here? Because if
it
I just broke up with clearly a long-term relationship, if one of us thought it was going to marriage, we wouldn't be having sex in the kitchen. Like,
it was
I
like
wouldn't even be able to look at you.
it totally disconnected me from the characters completely. I was already bored and I already didn't care, but as soon as they did that, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're real stupid,
Yeah.
both
I
of
was
you,
just like, that's not how that would go down. It's not how that would go down at all.
ladies.
Like,
Please don't do this.
no.
You don't do this."
And I will say, this is where her character kind of seems like a jerk because he's clearly dying inside and wants to get out of the situation. And she's just like in his face, like, what's wrong? I don't understand.
I hate that. I
I
hate
need
that.
cigarettes. And I was like,
I
do you not realize, like, you ripped his heart out? He probably doesn't even want to see your face right now.
if
Get
I'm
away from
obvious
him.
if I'm obviously upset and you ask me one time what's wrong and I don't tell you or tell you I just need space and you keep asking me what's wrong with me now is going to be your dumb ass. Now you are what's wrong. Now I'm mad. Like,
Yeah.
especially if I wasn't mad before and you're like, "Oh, you seem mad." I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Well, in that situation, it wouldn't even be why you're asking me. I would only be able to look at you and go,
Do
do
you
you
not
have a
know?
heart? Do you have
Like
no fucking emotion? What kind of unsocialization did you never have to think in this situation we would be fine? Like, get out of my face. But while that's happening, they get their first knock on the door. And it's a weird chick. You only see like a little bit of her face. And she's like, is Tamara there?
well, she like the lights off, like the porch light is
It
off.
is
So when
off.
they open the door, she's literally just shadowed. Like you
Yeah.
can't see anything. Which is this movie came out in 2008. I didn't realize we were still opening front doors in 2008. I thought we stopped answering the door a lot sooner, but apparently I was wrong.
No.
Because my ass would not have been opening the door
No.
at all. Even as a child, I was
Yeah.
not opening the door.
That definitely would have been like, no, go away. Like,
Yeah, no.
to which she stands there for a bit. They're kind of like, okay, weird girl, bye. Close the door and lock it. Then that's when she's like, well, I need cigarettes. And he's like, well, I need to go for a drive anyways. I'm going to go.
Yeah, I
Y'all
need to
light
get the
the
fuck away
fire
from
first,
you.
right? I'm going to
Which,
light
hold
a
on.
fire first.
I have
You
a
just stay
question though.
here.
Right, you just stay here and get warm, and apparently your weird outfit. My question is, this is like the first time when we see him, like he leaves. Where the fuck is this house? Where the
I don't
fuck
know.
is this house?
It's
Because like
rural.
throughout, it looks almost rural, but you see him and there's like a curb outside. That's not like I'm so confused
I
as
will
to
say, this is where they clearly shot at different places
yes, that's what I'm
for different
saying.
moments because when you do the outshot, it makes it, they try to make it look like it's in the middle of nowhere, BFE, giant front yard, dirt
Right.
road.
But if they turn just a little bit,
Yeah, then
there's
there's
like another
curb,
house and a
suburban
curb.
neighborhood. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Where the fuck is this house? And it gets even more apparent throughout the rest of the movie as everything goes on. But I just wanted to mention it first because it was driving me insane the whole movie.
So we have our first inconsistency.
Also, the sound mixing for this movie was horrendous.
Oh yeah, not great.
Absolutely horrendous. Like
Mm-mm.
I couldn't like I had to turn it up to like 45 to hear them speaking at first. And then the first time something loud happened, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, can we go back and remaster the sound on this?
Yeah,
Please.
yeah. Okay,
Anyway, go
so
ahead.
he's
I'm
now
sorry.
gone. She's sitting by the fire. She's getting her phone out and stuff, plugging it in. Another knock happens. And I was like, this bitch gonna open the door. But she didn't. So I was a little proud of her. She did not open
Right.
it. She just said, who is it? And the girl says, Tamara there again. And she was like, you were already fucking here. And the girl just walks away. But that's when she locks the door. And I'm like, this door was unlocked the whole fucking time.
I get that because sometimes I still struggle to remember to lock the door because where I'm from, we never locked doors ever.
So
People
where,
would just come in my house that I like people we knew, but like the
yeah,
doors were always open. Bees on
where
me
I
all the
would
time.
die is I don't lock when I leave, which I probably shouldn't be announcing this over the internet. I don't really do this. When I leave, I don't tend to lock the door. But once I'm in the house, check, 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 check. So if someone came in, and then I'd be locked in with them, and
Oh
then
man,
I'd go out.
we lock the door even when we go take the trash out because it's such
That's
a long
Jared.
walk. we lock
Jay
the
is
door,
always just like,
especially if Firefly is still in the house and we're both because we both tend to go take the trash out because we are apparently codependent like that. We lock the door behind us, but it's like sometimes when I get in the house, I'm so focused on like putting everything down and taking my shoes off, putting on my slippers, taking off my coat, blah, 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 that it will just slip my mind and I have to go back and like double check.
yeah.
So that is one thing where I understand not having it locked.
But you would be panicked if a creepy girl's on the other side, and you were having to be like,
Mitch, I have
what?
hallucinations. I'd have to call B and be like, real or not real? That's the game we play, like PETA from the Hunger Games. Real or not? Is there a bitch standing out here right now? I need to know.
All right. So she comes back, and the fireplace, the dampener wasn't open, I guess. So now the house is filling with smoke.
Yeah,
So she has
idiot.
to get the dampener open, and her hair is just hanging in the fire. I'm like, there's no way you got that close. There's no way you got that close and didn't set yourself a fucking fire.
Dumb
Like,
bitch.
so then she goes and she sets the fire alarm off. She knocks it down. Okay, another knock happens now, but it's more bangy. And I am proud of her for this one. She went nowhere near the door. She was like, what the fuck's happening?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she went to go see if her phone's working. It's still not working. She goes in the other room and finds the house phone, and she calls,
Wild.
right, which I was like, well, you know it's old when there's a
Yeah,
house phone in
it's
there.
a fucking house.
So she calls the ex now, and she's like, get your ass back here because shit's happening.
Right.
And he's like, what's happening? And she's like, no, seriously, get home. More banging, more running. She finds her cell phone's been taken, the smoke detector's been moved. Someone's definitely in the house with her.
Right. And I think this is the point to where she starts screaming at them, which I don't understand. Like they start knocking on the doors and stuff and on the windows and everything, and she starts screaming,
Yeah.
"Go away,
Yeah. What even
bitch!"
more, okay, maybe you can explain this to me. She runs upstairs to hide, right? And
Yep.
for some reason decides to pull the lamp down.
I didn't understand
What
that
is
either.
she
What are
doing?
you getting to lay? Maybe she was thinking in her crazy, like, stressed person brain that she would use it as like a weapon, which is like it looked like a heavy lamp. Like if you
Well, I
can lift
thought
it and effectively swing it,
so. That's
okay.
why I thought maybe she was going with it, because I was like, okay, maybe
But
she's
then she
trying to
did
yank it
something
off.
weird.
But like the moment she cut herself, I guess she must have crushed the light bulb in her hand and cut herself. But then
Maybe
she
she would
was
turn the
like,
light off.
oh, lamp doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, well, okay, if it's gonna be a weapon, it can still be a weapon. What were
Maybe
you
she
doing
was
with the fucking lamp?
maybe she was trying to get the light off instead of just like unplugging it. She was trying to like unscrew the light bulb. I don't know.
Maybe.
It sounds like crazy person
Or just
thinking.
hit the light switch if that was your goal.
Right. Like there should have been different
Yeah.
steps for you to take. But yeah, she cuts her
So
hand.
yeah. So she does that. She's crying. She has the knife. She's ready. You're hearing footsteps. In comes the fiance ex, whatever he's supposed to be. And she's
Right.
like, oh my God,
And
we
she's
gotta
just
get the fuck
yelling.
out of here. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
just yelling.
not explaining.
Yeah, which a part of me always hates this part of movies because that always happens. The one person's like, I almost died, and everyone's like, can you just calm down, please? Can
Yeah.
you just,
Okay.
yeah, like, I hate that part. I really wish, because I honestly think humans would do that even in the real world, but I wish people would just be like if I walked in on my friend and they're just like, ah, I'd be like, we're out, we're out.
Yeah.
Explain later. Explain in
Yeah.
the car. We're fucking
Whatever.
gone.
Whatever.
Like,
Let's just get out of
it'd
the
be no
situation.
questions asked. If you're that
Right.
fucking hysterical,
Right.
get your shoes. We're fucking out. Let's go.
Right.
What the fuck happened? And
Yep.
then you can tell me a mile down the road you saw a spider or something. I don't even care.
Right, but we're
But
getting
I
out.
don't understand this compulsion to be like, oh my God, can you just calm down? It's probably nothing. Like, and then we all
Yeah,
die
this
because you
dismissive.
didn't listen. Like,
Yeah, it's so dismissive. And like
yeah.
I
Which
mm-mm.
for this movie, and he did that, and he literally was like, "There's nothing here." Like he had this
Right.
attitude, and this is where I was like, "You're an asshole now."
Yeah, I wouldn't have married you either.
Yeah, because you can tell this isn't just because she hurt him. That's just his personality, and it comes off very like, okay, crazy pants. And
Yeah.
he walks around the house. They find nothing, which makes him feel even more like, see, told you, crazy pants. But
Right.
she's still like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. I see
Right.
what you're trying to show me. We gotta get the fuck out. Oh, then they go to the basement while he's trying to be like, see, nothing's in here. And they look out the window and she's like, they're watching us. And he's like, weird. What should we do? And I'm just like, but that wasn't proof enough for him. He still didn't think.
What should we do? We
He
should
was
go grab the knives. Get a
right.
weapon. Do you got a baseball bat? Like, let's go.
Oh
Like, what
no,
do you
he's
mean that's
he's
weird?
even in that moment of creepy girl standing outside. Like you get he's so flippant about it, and you're just kind of like,
Right.
your person's hysterical. You now see the people outside,
Standing there.
but
And
you're
like
still having this attitude of like she's just making it up.
this is I think at the beginning they said that this was like his dad's house or
Yeah,
something. They didn't really explain much, but they said it was like his dad's house. And let me tell you, if this is his dad's house, if he spent any amount of time in this house at all, and it's supposed to be rural, seeing someone in the country, a random person standing on your property, even if you're not like in the boonies, but it's still rural, that's alarm bells for country
yeah.
people. Like,
I
no.
feel like
So
that's
him
alarm
being
bells for
there,
city people. I feel like not even
possibly
me would sit there and see someone standing out in front of my house
like
staring at it, and I'm just gonna
staring,
be like, "Cool, dude." Like, no, I'm like
like alarm
911.
bells.
Like,
Alarm bells need to be ringing.
yeah,
It reminds me of that episode of Adventure Time with the poo-brained horse, where he's just sitting there staring and Jake and Finn are just like they go outside and they're like, oh, it's a weird horse, and then it turns out it's the Ice King. This is what I feel like. Look, you're so stupid. Why are you?
the poo
Why
brain
are
horse.
you? Why are you the way you are? Do you know what I'm talking about, or is this random information for you?
No, I think I do know or remember that episode, but it's
Yeah, with
just
the
so
horse,
because
the
it
big
felt kind of like a serious conversation. You're like, you know what this is? The poo brained horse.
horse.
That's what this is.
That's one of my sleeping shows. It's like melted in my brain. You know, like the 5 degrees from Kevin Bacon. There's a 5 degrees to Adventure Time for me.
I love that. I want to hear that more.
Oh shit!
All right.
Tears in my
So,
eyes. Stupid.
dude, man goes out to the car because he needs to get his cell phone. He left it in the car.
Right.
Car's been fucked up, like someone
Yeah.
smashing the windshield, tire slash. And I
Right.
feel like this guy is not giving the appropriate reaction. He's like very, huh, what? Like,
Yeah, and this is another shot where it shows you how close the house is to the curb. So I'm like, if you guys were in the house and somebody was like smashing windows with a baseball
how did I not
bat or
hear
a
that? I thought
sledgehammer,
that
how
too.
the
I was like,
fuck
you
did
definitely
you?
heard that. But even if you didn't, okay. But this is what gets me about him because one, even if she's inside saying somebody was in this house, people were banging on the door, we're going to die. He's like, yeah, okay, crazy pants.
Right.
He goes, there's a person staring at us. He goes, that's weird. He goes outside to see his car demolished, and his attitude is still very much like, gotta get my cell phone though. Like, there's no
No
sense
sense
of
of
none of the dots
he
are
is
connecting.
he has like no self-preservation skills at
Clearly,
all, which is
none.
like one of my biggest icks with human beings is when they don't have any kind of self-preservation skills. Like
Yeah,
I went through this with my brother when he was in high school and he was getting in a shit ton of trouble like not on purpose, but he kept telling on himself. And I'm like, I'm not mad about you getting in trouble. I'm mad because you cannot fucking close your mouth. Like this is the same feeling. I'm so upset. You were this stupid. This is why I think I would have lasted and I would have got out of there.
What is
Okay.
that saying? You can't be like a criminal and dumb. What is it?
I know what you're talking about, but I
It's
don't know
something
the exact
stupid.
saying.
You
Yeah,
can't
it's
be
like you
stupid.
can't be a dumb criminal or like
Yeah.
something like that.
It's
Yeah,
a
but I
really
know what
good
you're
one,
saying.
but
Yeah,
that
I know what
reminds
you're
me of that.
saying.
Like,
Maybe B no. I'll text him. Let's go on. We'll
right?
come back to that
It's
if I
gonna
get
bug
a
me
chance.
all night. We're gonna be in the middle of the true crime part, and I'm like, that's what it
It.
is. Okay, so Mr. No self preservation does can't find his cell phone. His cell phone's gone. Once
Right.
he sees the cell phone's gone, that's when he kind of gets a, huh, we may be in danger. This is where I do agree with them because they then did jump into the broken car because I would be like that. I'd be like, fuck it, we're driving on the rims, we getting the fuck out of here. But I will say, so a truck pulls up behind them. This is where I would have been like, why are we stopping and staring? Because of course they do the classic stop and stare at the front car. What's up and stare? Reverse, whip it, and get the fuck out of there. Like,
Or just yeah, do something.
don't just sit there and stare. Don't let the people get to you. You should be already. We'll go around. We'll go through the backyard. Like, we're getting the fuck out of Dodge. At least I
You know
am.
that thing didn't have 4-wheel drive on it.
You know what? Well, I
You know
try.
that bitch.
I'm trying.
That bitch is getting stuck on rims. No, it ain't going nowhere.
So the people pull up with their truck and they just keep ramming this car until what, they just jump out and run back inside.
I think they just ran back inside.
Yeah, they just jumped out
Yeah.
and ran back inside. Like, the car is clearly not going anywhere. They have the truck right up against it. They just run back inside. And this is where they start axing to get through the front door, and they push a piano and everything's getting super crazy. He finds his dad's gun. He's like, I don't know how to use this. I don't even know how to load it. And she's like, you
Yeah.
told me you went hunting. He's like, I just fucking say that. I never did this before. So she's stuffing bullets in his pocket. They got the gun. They shoot at the front door. They go run and hide in a corner.
Yeah, they're in
Oh,
like a
that's
weird like
happening.
pantry thing or something. Like a storage
Yeah.
closet. Something weird like that.
And so it looked like that, but then I was like, are they back in the basement? What's
It was like
happening?
concrete looking. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was weird. It was a weird. The whole house was
So
fucking weird.
for sure, they definitely, I feel like they don't keep consistent with a reasonable floor plan, you know? Like, it was like they were in the basement, technically, with that room that looked like the basement.
Right.
But for the next part, so his friend showed up because he had called him earlier to be like, pick me up in the morning. I gotta get the fuck out of here. The friend
Right.
showed up early
Who the friend is Glenn what is his name? Glenn Howerton from Always
from
Sunny.
Always Sunny. So, but he is not funny in this movie. So he sees the car fucked up, the house is fucked up. This is where you get a little jump scare if you're super sensitive to them, because he's walking towards the house and turns, and all of a sudden the girl is there, like,
Right.
just, you know,
Oh.
from nowhere. He's walking through the house. Now, they had turned on the record player really loud. So the couple's in the corner, they hear the music turn on. This is where if I was him and I'm walking through this house, one, I probably would have already, like, as soon as I saw the car fucked up, 911, I'm driving away.
Go
Like,
to a safe
I'm not going
location.
in because I
Right.
can't save you. We just all gonna die together. That's useless. I'm gonna go get someone
Yeah.
who can save you, you know?
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
he goes inside. If I had gone inside, you turn the music off and you start calling for people.
Yell
Like,
for people. Right. Who
don't
walks in people's house
stand there with loud
silently?
music being sneaky. It doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Right.
So, because he chose to go the sneaky route, old scared guy in the closet shoots him in the face.
I'm not gonna lie. I started dying laughing when that happened. The
I
way
knew it was
he just
coming. I was
he
like, they're
just
gonna fucking shoot their friend. They're gonna shoot their friend, and they shot their friend. There it is, and it's gory. You see
yeah,
it,
in the
like,
face. Well, for like a split second.
put
Like they
out
it
in the
doesn't
face.
yeah.
His reaction though, when she's like, "What's happening? What's happening?" and she was like, and then he just tackles her. Don't look, it's
That
Kevin.
was so
She's so aggressive. She's like, get off of me. Like, what
yeah, like
the
what
hell?
the fuck is going on? Like this is the most emotion that we've seen out of him
Oh, yeah.
this entire
He
siege
just broke. Which
situation
I
that's
guess I
happening.
get. I mean, he just practically shot his best friend, like, in the face.
In the
Like,
face with a shot with buckshot.
yeah,
Like
he's dead. You killed your
yes.
best friend. That sucks. So, a
At
little
least he
more
knows how to shoot.
torturing.
He can aim apparently. The fucking face. First try.
He was prepared. So, I'll give him that. So, you get a little more torturing. He decides there's a radio, a CB radio in the garage, like the shed in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go for it. He tells her to go hide. He's gonna go for it.
Right.
And so he runs out. He's kind of being sneaky. He sees they have flashlights.
Right.
And then the guy comes. So there's three of them, two girls and a guy. And he finds him and then he kicks him in the head. Shots fired. You're kind of left going, did he die? Did he not die? I don't know. We're back to live. She's scared on the back porch and they're starting to surround her. So she decides to run for it. She falls
Right.
in a ditch.
Because she doesn't have any shoes on. Why
She
didn't you
doesn't.
put on any shoes? You don't have flip flops.
But this is where I was like, what the fuck? Once again, to not making sense landscape wise, whenever they show the yard in this movie, flat land, very flat,
Right.
plainsy. Now all of a sudden
Where's
there's like a 4 foot ditch. Like
a
she had to
gully?
climb
Like,
out of the ditch. I'm like, the fuck did that come from? Like,
and
did they
the way
did they dig it? Did
and the
they
way
set
they
a trap?
right the way that they and cover it with grass with
Yeah,
turf
I was like, this doesn't make sense.
and
Like, where is the ditch?
the way that they show the shed too, it makes it look like it is so far deep in the woods,
Yeah,
so deep in the woods, but it's like where where is this house? Because
right.
this all is happening. And even when Glenn pulls up, you see like there's the curb and then there's a house like 200 feet,
Oh
like
yeah,
not far. Like nobody's hearing. He just fired a buckshot into his friend's face and nobody hears
and
anything.
outside, and the
And
shot happened
outside.
outside.
And
Nothing.
outside. Even if you're in the country, your neighbors would be like, hold on a minute.
Yeah,
It's middle of the night. It's not deer season. We're not hunting here.
it's
Who the
not
fuck
Fourth
is
of
firing
July.
buckshot?
What's
Right.
the gun?
Jesus
No,
Christ. But she
for sure.
falls, yeah.
So she falls in mystery pit, then has to climb out in a dramatic way too. It is not I tripped. Oops, let me get up. She's gripping grass
Yeah.
and heaving
It's like
herself, and then having
clawing
to army
herself.
crawl because she broke her leg.
Apparently.
Yeah,
Maybe. I don't
makes
know.
it to the garage with the girl stalking her, and you think she's gonna stab her, but she doesn't. They're really playing the long game with these people. She
Yeah.
gets the CB radio working. She's crying into it. Finally, someone answers. The moment he answers and goes, "Where are you?" The chick comes in and beats it with a bat. She goes running. And this is where I was like, okay, so you can run out of the building, but then she immediately falls to the army crawl again.
Yeah.
And I'm
And she
like,
doesn't know how to
really?
use a ham radio either. She's just
No,
fucking
she
turning
just
dials
turning buttons and
the whole
dials and stuff like
time.
that.
She's like,
Yeah.
hello, hello. And the way, okay, the way she was talking into the ham radio, you have to understand the type of person to use a ham radio, even like a trucker that happens
Mhm.
to you. I don't know people who are still using it. I don't know if they still use it in 2023, but the people who are using ham radios, if you get on a ham radio and you start going, hello, hello, can someone respond? If you start whispering, they're going to be like, there's ghosts. There's a ghost in the fucking radio. Like they're all suspicious as shit. That's why
Oh
they
yeah.
have a ham radio. What the fuck are you doing?
I always that's another part where I'm like, it doesn't if you can get online with someone else, I feel like you info dump. I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
75
you just
Street.
start going.
Someone's trying to
You
kill
just
me.
start talking. You just
Yeah,
start talking. It's like
over and over
911.
again.
Yeah,
Someone's
when
trying
you
to
call
kill me. One,
911.
two, three, four, five. Emergency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right,
Whatever street. You
SOS.
know, like get your address out there.
Right. Not just going,
And
hello.
yeah.
Hello.
What is anyone
It's
supposed to do with that?
it's like that commercial. Did you ever see that Spanish milk commercial where they set it up like a horror movie and it's got this like grudge looking lady and she's just going, leche, Like saying milk in Spanish. Have you ever seen that? That's what it reminds. I'm gonna have to send that to you because that's one of my favorite things for me and my best friend to say to each other just randomly. We'll just call leche. That's what it reminded me of. Like there's a ghost in the ham radio. Nobody's gonna respond to you.
Yeah. And even if they did, you're wasting precious seconds. Okay, we don't
Seconds.
have
Yeah.
time for what happened. Are you okay? We don't have time for that. Address emergency. Address emergency. Like, because if he
Anyway,
would
she
have
makes
said
it
that,
out.
he could have at least written that down. And when they broke the radio, you could kind of in your mind think maybe somebody will show up because
Call
they at least
911.
knew where
Right.
I was.
Right. Jesus Christ.
So now she's back in the house. This is where I started getting really bored because I was like, we get it, okay? Just stab her
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
So they do eventually catch her. They bring him in.
He's still alive somehow.
Yeah, the sun's up by this point, and they just stand there and they're like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, hey, "You answered the door.
Right.
Stab,
You
stab,
fucking
stabby, stab,
idiots.
stab, stab."
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you see some Mormon kids walking down the
Some
road.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah,
Something.
the truck stops with the killers in it, and you're like, oh, they're gonna kill the church boys, but they don't. They just take one of their pamphlets and be creepy about it. And then the church boys find all the dead bodies.
Right.
And Liv, who is not dead,
Yeah. She
scares the shit
wakes
out of
up
the boys.
screaming. Yeah.
Yeah, one
Those
last jump scare. Credits. That's it.
they got the shock of their life, those little boys.
They really did.
I did write down, I just said I took very few notes, but one of my notes just says these people suck at hide and seek. Like
Yeah.
they're so bad.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
Awful.
because that's how
Awful.
Liv
Four
got
out
caught.
of
That
ten.
was one of my notes. Liv was hiding in a room. And I feel like this is what you would want to do if you could get a weapon, but you want to make it so they have to come to you. Not so
Right.
you're having to check every corner. You get
Right.
yourself surrounded all sides. They only have
Right.
one way to beeline you. You got a better
Right.
chance of at least killing them when they have to corner you to get to you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? She doesn't. She walks out of the room and then the guy's able to tackle her. But it's like,
Yeah. And
what are
she's
you
loud as
doing?
shit the whole time.
Yeah. So that's it. That's that whole movie. And I will say, I regret watching it now.
Yeah, 4 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not that entertaining. It's not, I can't even call this movie a thriller because
No.
I think I would put this in the category of torture porn again. And not that they're that graphic. It keeps it pretty PG-13, I think, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
it's still very like, that's pretty much just the whole premise of the movie. Their
Right.
torture and
Yeah,
eventually their killing.
psychological torture of chasing them
Yeah.
around and all of that. Yeah,
And
like
but they didn't do a good job of making you feel psychologically tortured. You're just watching
right.
these people be psychologically. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so
and
I didn't
thinking
feel
about
any
how stupid they
suspense.
are.
Yeah, it didn't make you feel suspenseful. You know what's coming if you have
Right.
any ability in reading situations.
Right.
Like, but so yeah, it's pretty boring. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But now we'll take a little break and then we'll get into the what it's truly based off of.
I hope it's better than the fucking movie.
So much better. So we'll be right back after these words. All right, we're back. So now that we've talked about the movie, now it's for the true crime that this movie was based off of. The couple of them. So the first one is the director's experience of when he was younger. He was staying at his grandmother's house. Someone knocked on the door. He answered. They asked a simple question. They went away, and it turned out that group of people were committing crimes at houses that weren't answering the doors. So that was his terrifying experience. And then he combined that with the Keddie murders. It's actually really kind of fucked up. The unsolved Keddie cabin murders happened in 1981. We meet the Sharp family, which consists of the mom, Sue, a 15-year-old son, Johnny, the 14-year-old Sheila, the 12-year-old Tina, the 10-year-old Rick, and the 5-year-old Greg.
Yikes.
Yes. So Miss Sue was a single mother. She had just got out of an abusive relationship and run to California. And obviously, she's very broke. She's also trying to go to classes and take care of her kids. And she finds this great deal in this very tiny, tiny, less than 100 people town of Keddie. And she finds a cabin that's only $170 a month, and it's only a 3-bedroom, but they make it work because it also has a basement for the older son to live in. But because the basement has no amenities, it's not even fully done. They keep the doors unlocked so that he can come in and out of the house to get to the kitchen and bathroom and stuff.
Okay, so it's like he had to like go outside
To
get in the
get down
house.
into the basement
All
and then
right.
come
So
back
it's like a
inside.
cellar then. That's not a
Yeah,
basement, that's a cellar. Okay.
excuse me.
Ew, he's
I
living in
live
a
in
cellar.
I live near water. We don't have beneath us, only above us.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Cellars get nasty. Ew. Poor
Well,
kid.
yeah. So in this very, very tiny community, the houses are pretty close to each other, and obviously everyone knows each other. The kids have other kids they play with. Everyone's
Hmm.
really close, and so they're in cabin 28, I want to say. So their neighbors in 27 um, are friends with the girls, and the girls have been hanging out with them all day on the 11th. I get my dates messed up. Yeah, on the 11th.
Hmm.
So the older boy and his friend Dana were out running around, and then the 2 girls were next door at their friends, and then the 2 little boys were home, and they had a other neighbor on the other side over with
Hmm.
them.
Okay.
So the girls want to spend the night at the friends, but Tina wasn't allowed to because she was too young, so she had to stay home. The older boys did come home later. So in the house on the night of the 11th, you have Tina, you have Sue, you have Johnny, his friend Dana, who's a boy. I feel like it confused me for a while because I was like, oh, his girlfriend. No, it's his guy friend. And then you have the 2 little boys and their little friend.
Okay.
So the morning of the 12th is Sheila comes home and she opens the door to just a massacre. Blood everywhere, ceiling to floor, everywhere. She, of course, slowly steps out of the house, runs back to her neighbors, who they call the cops, and then go over to figure out what's happening. The cops do take a while to get there because they were like an hour away,
Hmm.
small town life.
Hmm.
And but once they do get there, once they calm Sheila down, she does immediately have to be like, they notice in the living room, it's the older brother Johnny, his friend Dana, and the mother Sue have been bludgeoned by multiple weapons, guns and hammers. They have been stabbed multiple times. They have been strangled. And Sue is also pantsless with her underwear stuffed down her throat. And they are tied with wires and also electrical tape. So, like, horrendous things. Someone took their time. It's
Yeah.
really bad in there. And
Someone had
obviously,
it
it's
planned out.
multiple people. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's just so much force happening here. And they even find the 2 knives that were used, and they were all bent and stuff. And a lot of people make a big deal out of that, like, well, so much force is being used that it bent the knife. But then I was like, I feel like you wouldn't need that much force to actually
For
like
a
bend the
kitchen
knife.
knife?
Yeah, you know
Kitchen
what I mean?
knife no, in the 80s, a kitchen knife,
Yeah.
she probably had cheap stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah,
she's
because
a
she's
single
super
mom with
poor.
5
Yeah,
kids, right? She probably had like you can get knives at Dollar Tree
yeah.
and like they're
It's
not the
gonna bend.
best. Now,
It hits one bone, it's gonna bend.
are you gonna bend my ceramic knife? No, you're not gonna bend that. You'll
Yeah,
dull the tip, but you're not gonna bend it. But super cheap, plain, like single steel, single folded steel, whatever it's called. That's not the right words. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
it, probably not that
Your
much
ring
force was
schmag
needed.
kitchen knife, it's gonna get bent pretty easily. So I don't find that to be a great sense of like they use so much force.
No, I find the
So
fact that
they
it was,
did use a lot of force, but the bending of the knife,
I think the multiple weapons is more like
how
concerning
crazy is that?
than just the bent knife.
Yeah.
Like,
So at this point, Sheila, the 14-year-old girl, realizes, oh my God, where are my siblings?
Hmm.
So she goes to the little boy's room and they find them. They're totally fine. They slept through the whole thing, apparently. They don't know what's happening. But to keep them from seeing the massacre in the other room, they pull them out of a window and
Yeah,
then take
makes
them to
sense.
explain things. By this point, the girl's uncle had come down. And so the kids do have an adult to be with that is their family.
This is so much force and so much planning. I mean, was it the ex-husband?
No,
Like if she was in an
apparently,
abusive relationship and
yeah,
she ran
apparently he
away,
was nowhere near the situation.
how do
And
they know it's the 80s?
well, we'll get there.
Okay, sorry.
So, so as hours are going by and the cops are collecting things, they kind of realize we're missing a kid. Tina's gone, just missing. No sign. Well, I mean, with all this blood, but from her room and stuff, there's no sign that she was also bludgeoned or anything. So she's just kidnapped. And at this point, this makes it FBI jurisdiction that they can
Right,
come in and help because she's a kidnapped child.
right.
But the cops don't want their help. So they kind
Of
of block
course.
them at
Yeah.
every chance they get.
Yeah, small towns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big beef between small town regular cops and any type of government official.
Oh, yeah. So by this point, the case almost gets in trouble. It goes cold. And a lot of people in town are tossing out that the cops are purposely blocking things. Like there's so much blood. So they found a fingerprint. All the weapons were left behind. Like they're like, you have to know something. And you're in a town of less than 100 people. We all know each other. Somebody fucking knows something. So they're kind of blocking things and are not interviewing anybody. They didn't talk to the little boys after to try to be like, do you know anything? Now, later, one of the little boys would come forward, the friend who was sleeping over would come forward with dreams he was having, which is very common in a very traumatic situation for people to dissociate.
Yeah,
And
especially
our,
children.
yeah, and our memories to come back as dreams. So they did kind of take it seriously because his dreams would be like, I saw two men, we were on a boat and there were two men and they were attacking Sue and stuff like that. So he kind of identified two men and they even drew up sketches from his dreams. That went nowhere. Like they didn't even show them around. So case goes cold. They kind of dropped a huge ball. So that's it until 2016 when that sheriff is now long gone and younger people have taken over and those people actually grew up with these kids. So and Miss Sue. So they were like, we want to reopen it. And when they reopened it, they found just how much the ball had been dropped.
Of
Oh,
course.
and I also forgot. So 3 years after the case, Tina's skull would be found due to an anonymous call. So when that happened, they kind of just left it like they don't know how she died. Her body was way too deteriorated. So all they can really, they don't know how long she was alive after. They think it was a couple months until like after the main event till she was dead, but hard to tell. So because they found her body, the cops put out that they think she conspired with one of her with a groomer, killed her family to run away with them. And I find this so disgusting because I'm like the amount of force to take down an adult and two well into puberty boys. You think the 12-year-old little girl did that? Honestly.
Ah, mm, I mean, it would depend on who she would have been like working with, what type of person could have grown. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a theory that should be totally dismissed, but I do think that without any further information, without any actual evidence of this fact, especially the fact that this was the 80s, right? And it's not, they were in a very tiny town, right? It's not that like they were in a big city where she would have been around a lot of strangers. So and in small towns, small communities, we are not very good about like taking care of the problems before they become a problems with people who would groom a child.
Yeah.
but everybody in the community knows that the person is weird and they keep their kids away from them. So if this was the type of situation, if the cops would have put out and been like, "Hey, did anybody see anything weird? Is there anybody weird in the area?" Somebody would have spoke up and been like, "Fucking Jim Bob. Nobody brings their kids around him. You need to look at," like there would have been somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So without further evidence, I feel like it's a little bit of a cop out. But as far as that being a viable theory, if there was further evidence, yeah, I think that that's possible. I mean, we've seen it over and over in in the media of these kids being groomed and going on to kill their parents because they did not allow them to continue the relationship.
Yes, but you would have had a history. Like someone would have been like,
Right.
"Oh, Tina and Sue, they're going at it because
Right.
Tina's doing
That's what
fishy
I'm
stuff."
saying.
Those
There's
stories aren't around. I still think the amount. I mean, you could say one man could tie them up with her help, and I guess go off like that's a lot of strength, though. You're clearly looking at multiple big, strong people to put on that much.
Yeah, three,
Ugh, there's a
one
lot
fully
there.
grown woman and two mostly grown teenage boys.
Yeah,
The only situation I could see that actually like happening is if somehow the little girl convinced them like, "Oh, he's just gonna tie you up and then we're gonna leave." And they thought, "Oh, we'll find her later. Like we'll call the cops and get out when she's done or whatever, when she's gone." And then I could see maybe that happening with only one actual adult type person. But yeah, that's a lot, and that's a lot of brute force.
and I still go with if she was really that down, like she's a murderer. She's like, "Fuck it, yeah, let's kill my family." Fuck
Right.
yeah. Why would she have then been dead? Because that's a
Exactly.
girl down to clown. That's there'd be no reason to
Right.
kill her ever because she's
Like,
clearly already she's never gonna turn on you. Like, you know what I
right,
mean?
you have already convinced her to like kill her family and run away with you. Like at
Yeah,
what point? Well, and then I guess you could argue like the type of person who would do that with a child could then be prone to violence later and could then abuse her, and that's what could have happened. But again, this is all just wild conjecture. Like there's no evidence to this. There's no way
yeah.
to point to anything and say, yeah, that's most likely what happened. And I'm always really uncomfortable when especially in the true crime community, when we throw out just wild conjectures, particularly when the wild conjectures come from the fucking cops. Like,
Yeah.
stop,
Well,
do
this
your
was
fucking
a
job.
reporter and a cop. And
Oh, that's
but it
even
was quickly
worse.
it was pretty quickly like get the fuck out of here. That's
Hmm.
not nobody was on that train. And I agree. That was a
Yeah,
fucked
it's
up train. I
far-fetched.
didn't like that
Yeah.
train at all because I
Mm-mm.
was like, this girl was clearly a victim. This was a very
Mm-mm.
hostile crime. And she
Right.
ended up dead too. So
Right. And they don't know when she died. So it's entirely
no,
possible
yeah.
that she died almost like immediately afterwards. They took her
Oh
from
yeah.
some other reason and then immediately killed her, and then they for some reason decided to call in an anonymous tip or something. Like
Yeah.
you don't there's no, again, there's no evidence. Where is your proof?
Oh,
And
they
they
had no
obviously
evidence because they
they didn't
botched
fucking
it
take
all.
the evidence. Right. They
No.
left the weapons at at the crime scene.
Well,
Like
they did take them. They just never looked at them. They hid them away until 2016, where these new guys open it and they're like, we're going to get to the bottom of this case. I want to know what happened because these people meant something to me. Right.
mhm.
And this is where they find out that they had the hammer, they had fingerprints, they had DNA they could run, which from 81 to 2016, DNA jumped leaps and bounds. So awesome.
Yeah, what kind of DNA?
I don't know. I
Oh,
couldn't really
okay.
find the specifics on that. But then
That's
they
ugh,
have where they found so that anonymous call that found Tina's body, they
right.
called and specifically said, it's Tina. This is where she's at. They didn't they put the tape in evidence, but they never compared the voice to anything. They never did anything with that when clearly it would be the killer calling to tell you that. Who else would know that a
That
skull
these
was Tina's
bones, right,
specifically, you know?
right.
They also, so one of the main suspects that the town always kind of thought it was the father of the boy who spent the night. So that was kind of reason number one why they thought it might have been him and his roommate. because the boys were left unharmed because that was his child. He also, apparently they had it where it's possible that his wife, he was abusing his wife, and he found out that she was talking to Sue, and Sue was going, you can get away, like, I got away, you can get away. He didn't like that, so he got his buddy who had been in prison and was in with the mafia to go and take care of her. And so that
I
was kind of the idea,
guess.
but the cops never really went for it, and they were like, there's no evidence, there's nothing there. And so then it was like, okay, you're covering something up and you're doing it for, you guys must be friends because you're doing that for him.
Right.
And the cop was like, we're not friends. I get this. I counseled them on their marriage one time. And I was like, who
I
would go to
can't.
the sheriff? And I was like, and don't get me wrong, I know that in a small town you probably don't have a therapist, but I know you got a church. And people go to their pastors for marriage advice, not the fucking sheriff. That doesn't make any sense at
The
all.
40%, the 40% DV uh percentage for cops, and you're going to the fucking
Right?
sheriff?
Unless you were
Forget out of
friends.
there.
You wouldn't just go to your sheriff like, I respect you as a leader in the community. Please tell me how to treat my wife. Like,
Yeah, no,
nobody's doing that with a
mm-mm.
sheriff unless
There's
you're
some
friends and you respect his opinion that much.
right. There's
That
some
would be
kind of
the only
relationship.
reason.
Yeah, there's some
But
kind of relationship there.
yeah, but
Yeah,
according to
and
the sheriff, nope, we didn't know each other at all. We only spoke that one time for that random encounter. So yeah, so the new guys on the case are like, So they found that they had an evidence, a letter from this man to his wife saying, I kill, why, pretty much being like, why won't you stay with me? I've killed 4 people for you and you're still walking away. Oh, it gets
what?
better. It gets better. They had a therapist because right after the killings, this dude booked a Torino. Okay. He got out of town fast. Him and
Like
his friend. They were gone.
without his wife?
Yeah, without his wife.
So
They was
this
gone.
was for his wife to
Yeah.
possibly keep her with him in an abusive situation, and his reaction
He's
immediately
right.
afterwards
Yeah. He's
is
gone.
to
The
leave.
wife, anytime she's questioned, it's, I don't know. I
This
don't
sounds
remember
like
saying that. No, I
this this sounds like meth. This sounds like meth logic of
don't.
like
You know what?
that's and you're talking about a small rural community. This sounds like meth head logic of
Yeah.
my wife wants to leave me. I have to keep her forever. She's talking to this woman. If I kill this woman, then my wife will stay with me. But then you do it, and your meth brain is like, oh shit, I got to get the fuck out of here. So you totally forget that you did the whole thing to be able to stay with your
Yeah.
wife, and you just
For no
did. This
reason.
literally sounds like drug induced
But I
craziness.
will say, he may have been on meth. I don't know. But he
Who
went to
knows? That's
therapy
wild
apparently.
conjecture. That's wild conjecture on my part, but that just to me that sounds like meth
So
logic.
he apparently went to therapy, and that therapist called down and said he killed these people,
Right, they have to. Yeah.
right? The cops put it down as hearsay because he apparently didn't take notes. Which I was like, does that make a difference? I need to write it in a letter, not call you.
Hearsay?
Yeah,
How?
they put it down as hearsay.
Okay,
Put it down as
hearsay
hearsay.
hearsay can only be used in a court of law. The cops are not judge, jury, and executioner. You
Yeah,
only get like 6 months of training on the very basic dumbed down portions of the law. You're not a fucking lawyer. Hearsay is a legal term.
yeah.
The
Which doesn't
fuck?
make any sense. You're the therapist. That's not hearsay.
Well, they probably didn't respect therapists.
Well,
Are you
yeah,
kidding? They're
probably.
cops. They don't
Well,
fucking
clearly,
respect therapists. Therapists are the people that they have to go to when they accidentally shoot an unarmed black man and they have to be cleared for duty. That's the only thing that they have to deal with therapists for. They
yeah,
ain't going to therapy. I'm not
yeah.
surprised.
So, so of course they find out 2016 that this letter exists, this therapist exists, like, so. But unfortunately, by 2016, these dudes are long dead. One from cancer and one from an accident, and they've so The
I hope
cops
it was
these days,
aggressive and painful.
right? The cops these days are still trying to get the official, like officially close the case and actually solve it. They said they still have some DNA in the works they're trying to work on,
That's what I
and
was
they're
gonna
more
ask you.
trying to find. They are whittling it down to, because they just did an interview in like 2021. They said that they know people who knew things and did things to help these men get away with this, and they're going for them now. But that's kind of all they said. They didn't say who they were, how close they were, or anything like that.
Well, they couldn't because
Yeah,
the
it's an
people they'll go
ongoing
underground.
investigation. Yeah.
Right. They'll go underground. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Jesus fucking Christ.
unfortunately, as of today, that's where it stands. It's technically an unsolved case. Uh,
I
and
hate
hopefully
that.
one day these guys can at least get a full, like, real answers for their family, the surviving family members.
I hate that. I hate that
Yeah.
story. Oh God. What a fucking nightmare. Can you imagine leaving an abusive relationship and feeling like you finally got out, you finally got free, and then these fucking psychos.
Oh, I
Dog.
know. Or you just try to help someone, you're just trying to get fucking by. And it's
Right.
really bad because they did bring up some, in one of the documentaries I watched, they did bring up like where some rumors were flying where Sue was actually like in a love triangle with the guy and his wife, but also trying to get her out. And I was like, you guys are just slut shaming the single mom. Like, it was very clear
Just throwing
in the
shit
media
around.
tone and stuff. It was very clear that they were trying to slut shame her in a way of like, does she matter though? You know, like they
Yeah.
also had a theory going where it was the son's fault because he was could have been selling drugs, but they were like, no evidence of that. There's no history. He didn't have any. Like, they're just tossing that stuff out. Just,
It just
and I'm like,
sounds
it's just
like,
because she's a single mother. You guys are just shitting on her.
yeah, the
Like,
cops are just throwing out
yeah,
just anything to get the heat onto her and make it her
yeah,
fault, which I'm not surprised about because even now in 2023, you have men with podcasts, microphones in their faces, talking about how useless and unworthy single moms are. That
oh
I
yeah,
would never date a single mom. She's been ran through. Da, 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 da. Like it was, I'm sure, 10 times worse in the 80s when this happened.
oh
Like,
hell yes.
Jesus Christ. Our justice system sucks
It yes, yes
so
it does.
hard.
Yep, super hard. This one also does scare me because kind of like what the movie was trying to get by, but it was like, and her house wasn't like, it is a cabin in the woods, but with other cabins very close to it. And
Right,
nobody heard anything. Like, for such a violent act, the
right.
kids didn't wake up, the neighbors didn't hear anything. Like, it really does make you feel just so uncomfortable. Like, your screams may never be loud enough if something was really going down.
Right. Yeah, and if you were brand new moving into a small little town, you have to be careful because people in small towns can be one of two ways. We're either really, really open and accepting, um, and kind of just let everyone in with open arms, or you have the other parts of the small towns that are very much, you're not from here. Like where where are you supposed to
Mm,
be? Because you're not from here. So it's possible that maybe even though they seemed nice and they were like letting the kids play together, it could have been a very simple instance of, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there, but it's not my problem because they're not from
yeah.
there. It happens. It's a flip of the coin when you go into small towns what side you're gonna get. So I'm not
I don't even
surprised.
know if that's an isolated small town thing, though. I think they find humans the majority of the time will just kind of rationalize what we think we
Yeah,
might hear and roll
yeah,
over and go back to sleep. Like,
yeah,
the majority of the
yeah.
time, we're probably not coming to help you.
Well,
Like,
and that's like they tell people don't yell out the word rape, yell out fire or
yep.
something because people are more likely to come. I don't really understand. that way of thinking. Like I don't know. We joke that B is like the neighborhood watch because like if there's anything going on, like if there's a car he sees come through and he doesn't know who the fuck it is, he's like outside the window like this. He's like watching. Like we don't really play that way, but I know that a lot of people are exactly like that, and it's kind of terrifying to think that like if I ever needed help or if my kid ever needed help, that there's a possibility that people would just ignore us.
Yeah.
Like, please stop this groupthink thing that you guys do of not wanting to get involved. Like,
Yeah, I definitely, because what do they call it? Once again, forgetting the words.
it's it.
It's the herd mentality, something along those
Yeah,
lines,
like a
where it was
group
like,
think.
yeah,
Yeah,
where everyone just goes, someone else will deal with it. So we just keep
right,
passing the buck
right.
and
Right. And I
nobody
think
deals
it's
with it,
gotten,
you
I
know?
think with the invention of social media and stuff, I think that that's gotten a little bit better because you see more and more videos of like people like standing up and like people like moving in the line and going to help someone, even if they're doing
Yeah.
it for just social media likes and clicks or whatever. Like at least they're fucking doing it.
And I will say, I do think, because people are always like, put your cameras down, actually help and stuff. But I'm like, in some of these situations,
We
you
need to
need the
document,
camera. Keep the camera
document,
going.
document, document. Yeah.
Absolutely, because even if you didn't necessarily save my life, a movement can start. Witness has happened.
Or there'll be
And
some like evidence out there
yeah,
that's
that
recorded.
too,
Yeah. I
like,
think people take that for granted. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So
you
I
could
am
like
kind of
set the
like,
phone up, like you set it up against a car or something,
yeah,
but like
if you're the
continue
only person
filming.
standing there to CPR me, please like put the phone down and CPR me,
Right.
but like find a way to keep it going also, you know?
Right. So
You can
that
get some
there's
audio out of
evidence.
this.
There's a recording. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a way to do both. Yeah, God,
absolutely.
that's
I think
I
you need
can't.
both in the crowd, and you will find both in the crowd, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, God. I hope they get answers. I hope they find something. I hope they're able to corroborate DNA, even if it's just to say, yes, this man absolutely did it. I think
yeah,
everyone deserves, if something horrible happens to you or your family, I think you deserve at least knowing who it was and possibly why they did
definitely.
it. God, Jesus
Though
Christ.
unfortunately, I do feel like the why will never be good enough, you know,
Well, it never is. If something like that, something
which
horrible
is
like
so
that
sad,
happens, like it doesn't.
because you want so bad for it to be something that you could sit there and go, I understand. I hate that you did it, but I understand. But it never
Right, but
would
it's
be.
not.
It's
No.
always gonna be something dumb like, well, I wanted your chips, so
Yeah, and
like,
to me it wouldn't even like the why. I would want to know the why just so that, but it wouldn't actually help
no.
anything. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to like I I think it's helpful to know the why for like future like investigation and studies and stuff from like
Oh yeah,
a psychological and like a educational standpoint to start to understand like to help understand like human behavior and like the minds of people who do these types of things. But like from a personal standpoint, I don't think anything ever, no answers will
yeah,
ever make anything feel any better.
no. So yeah,
Jesus.
that's a
What
really,
happened to the kids? Did the kids like go? Do you know if the kids like went with the uncle or did the rest of the kids like have to go back to their abusive dad?
I don't know.
Oh God,
I
I hope
never
they went
found
with the
anything that
uncle or
went over
something.
what they
I hope they
had to
grew up
do.
okay.
Yeah.
Jesus
The
Christ.
the only one that even did post like interviews now is Sheila, the older sister. She's
Hmm.
still fun, and she did an article where she was talking about still wanting to find like justice for Tina, or like find Tina. So part of me thinks she might still be a little bit disassociating, because I'm like, you found Tina, like,
Or maybe she doesn't believe that the bones are actually Tina. Like, did they do any?
maybe, or
They
like she
couldn't have
wants
done
more
any like
guarantee behind it.
right do a DNA test
Yeah,
on the remains and see like confirm that it is actually Tina. I get that, and that's probably something because I think in order to exhume a body, you have to like get approval from like state legislature
oh
or
yeah,
county legislature or something like that. So I very highly doubt that they would take her just being like, that's not my sister as being enough evidence to exhume the remains and do a DNA test, which, from what I understand, doing a DNA test post-mortem can be extremely expensive.
Oh yeah.
So that might be another thing that, like, why she's
And
saying
by
it
this
like that.
point might be impossible. Like,
Depending on how far deteriorate, I mean,
because
I
she
know
apparently back in, when were her bones found? 84.
80s, yeah,
She was already so deteriorated they couldn't tell what happened to
right.
her.
So is
Now
there
you're
even
talking
enough?
2023.
I don't
I don't think anything's
know,
there. Like,
and I can't remember if there is DNA information in your bones itself or if it's only in the bone marrow. I want to say it's only in the bone marrow, and I know
yeah,
bone marrow dries out. Like it
yeah.
doesn't stay around forever. But I also know that they've done like genetic testing on like the boys in the tower over in England. I think they did DNA testing on them, but I mean, I'm assuming that that was paid for by some portion of English legislature. So I'm
Oh, I'm
sure
sure.
whatever like technology out there is able to do DNA testing on bones
I
that
might
are
be too dumb
that
to understand all that.
well, I would just think that if the technology exists for us to do DNA testing on remains that are very, very old, like over 10 years old or something, it's probably extremely expensive. So I
Oh yeah.
can't imagine that Sheila would be able to afford that without being completely destitute, which in
Oh
this
yeah.
economy, like,
And you have to get the DA and everyone to approve that they want to.
right,
If they've all
exactly.
decided, nope, that we already know what's happened, then you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah, you're never going to be able
Yeah,
to do
it's
that.
not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Unless you go like full grave robber in the 1800s and just go dig it up yourself.
Yeah,
Bring a bone rabbit. I shouldn't laugh at that. That wasn't funny. It just seems like a ridiculous thing to do, but who knows?
that could be a movie. Someone stealing bones and DNA testing them. Some type of vigilante
Going out
who
and
is like
yeah,
a world-renowned geneticist and
going out and
can,
stealing bones.
yeah, and then figuring solving their crimes like Sherlock mixed with bones, you know? Like
That would actually be interesting. And then they could do some funny shit like Thomas Paine. Do you know who Thomas Paine is? Thomas Paine was a he was alive during like Thomas Jefferson time frame, and he like I think I want to say he signed the Declaration of Independence, or he was, I can't remember exactly, but he was like high up there in like the original beginning of the US government, and
yeah.
nobody knows where his bones are. There's someone that claims to have them, but nobody knows where the fuck his bones are. So you could have an episode where he goes out and he tests all these different bones. Where's Thomas Paine?
The mystery of Thomas Paine. All right, that's our show tonight. Strangers, skip it. It's not that great.
Right.
Uh, the Keddie murders, fucking tragic,
Horrible. Yeah,
horribly
absolutely
tragic, and
disgusting.
um, apparently there is another movie also based off the Keddie murders that's more based off the actual Keddie murders, not inspired by them. So we might check that
Hmm.
out sometime too.
What movie is this? It's like Kitty like a cat, right?
No, Keddie like kid,
Oh,
Ked,
oh, oh.
Keddie. Might be more Keddie.
Keddie, yeah. I see it. Keddie. Murder in Cabin 28. Oh, I see. All right. I don't know. I'll figure out what movie it is.
That's our show. Night night.
Good night.